and as we can see, once with this price hierarchy in place, what we can do now is divide the world according to the specialties, okay? So resource, of course, would be Russia. Russia, the Middle East, the GCC, okay? Saudi Arabia, these places, okay? So these places provide resources. Manufacturing then would be China, right? Knowledge would be Europe and the Five Eyes, okay? Basically the Anglosphere, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Britain, and then finance, of course, the United States, okay? Sorry, the United States. All right, so as you can see, this is a system that benefits the United States and its allies to the detriment of China and Russia, okay? But this is how the game is structured. Of course, if the United States doesn't like you, what it can do is not allow you to play this game. And these countries, of course, would be North Korea and Iran, among other countries, okay? So China and Russia isn't happy about the system, but at least they get to play. Iran and North Korea are not even allowed to play the game of the global economy. All right? Now, of course, you can't have people believing that, okay, this entire global economy is structured so that the West can steal resources from everyone else, okay? So what you do is you create another layer called the rules-based international order. Okay, multilateral organizations, which includes the UN and the WTO, okay, World Trade Organization, okay? This is called the rules-based international order. But it's really controlled by the empire, okay? So all these are just basically shadows on the wall that the empire is creating, projecting, okay? To fool us into behaving the way the empire wants. All right, so now that you have the system in place, what you need to do is indoctrinate people into believing that the system is fair, just, and good, okay? And then you do that through three mechanisms. These three mechanisms, of course, are education, media, and culture, right? What is education? Well, schools, guys, and universities, academia. You think that you go to university to learn knowledge. No, you don't. You go to university to be brainwashed into believing that this system is not just fair, but actually what really makes this system work is the rules-based national order, okay? You don't even think about empire. So that's education. Then, of course, you have media, which is CNN, BBC, New York Times. Each time you read an article, you think you're receiving news. You're not receiving news. You're being brainwashed into believing that this order is fair, just, and appropriate, okay? A phrase that you'll keep on hearing over and over is rules-based international order. Okay, but it's not a rules-based international order. It's Plato's cave. It's a deception. And the last, of course, is culture, which is Hollywood. And, you know, television shows, sitcoms, okay, things that you absorb every day. There's high culture and there's low culture. All right, so these are three mechanisms in which this order is basically indoctrinated into everyone, so that you don't even know this is a deception, okay? You believe that this is reality itself. And this is all to create values and norms. Okay, just the way you see the world, which allows for the creation of a legal structure. So that if you break the rules, it's not that the elite will come after you. They don't have to come after you because everyone else will come after you. Okay? If you're that guy who discovers that this is all deception, they'll kill you. Okay? Not the elite, but the people around you will kill you because you are breaking their fantasy. Okay? You're destroying their fantasy. All right? So this is a very effective system. The problem, though, is that you need to spread the system, okay? So there's three problems, okay? First of all, you have to protect this system, the status quo. Then you have to spread this system as well, okay? And then you also need to justify this system. And you do that through three transnational systems, three transnational organizations. And these are, okay? First, of course, is intelligence. What is intelligence? Spies, okay? Their job is to infiltrate other nations' elites and co-opt them into this system. That's what their job is, okay? That's what intelligence does. Then you have crime. Crime just engages in the most profitable enterprises, which includes, of course, drugs, human trafficking, and something called money laundering, okay? And this is a way to incentivize the global elite to work together. Okay, so that's the first two. And then there's one more mechanism called science. Now you think that science is about pursuing the truth. No, it's not. Okay? Science is fundamentally about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo. Okay? That's why science is fundamentally materialistic. Okay? All right? And what, so we have to remember, like, this system is trying to create values, right? And these three major values is something called the open society. Okay? What is open society? It's just basically globalization, multiculturalism, DEI, right? Diversity is good. Why is it good? Because it's good. We don't know. It's good. Okay? Do you understand? They never provide a reason, but it's always, well, you don't believe it, it means you're a racist, which is bad. Okay? So, open society. Second is the idea of privatization. Okay, or what we call neoliberalism or free market, meaning that governments suck at what they do. Therefore, you should allow private entrepreneurs to control everything. Okay, and this idea of neoliberalism. Again, there's not much evidence to support this, but if you don't believe this, it means you're a communist. Okay, which is bad, by the way. And the last thing, of course, is consumerism. Okay? So consumerism is just like, how do you prove your value in life? How do you pursue purpose and meaning in life? Buy things, man! Okay? And then put it on Instagram so that people can like it, you know? That's the value of life, man. Make as much money as possible, and then buy a yacht, get a super hot girlfriend, and then broadcast it on Instagram. And then you're a hero, okay? Of course, what people don't discuss is that this system is making people lonely, miserable, depressed, suicidal. But, well, it's because they're not taking enough drugs, right? If you're depressed, you should take antidepressants, and that will solve the issue, right? Okay, so because intelligence, crime, and science are above the nation state, okay? You need other mechanisms to actually operate these three things. And so what allows for the system to work is a collection of elites, okay? And you can break them down into three groups. First, you have transnational capital. So think of, finance, transnational capital. Then you have secret societies. And then you have families, okay? So elite families. All right. And these three organizations themselves are bounded by something called the occult. And we'll discuss this later on, okay? The occult. The occult is just basically hidden, secret knowledge, not available to people, that comes from three places. Other places as well, but we'll look at three places, okay? Hermetic philosophy, the Bible, and the Kabbalah, okay? We'll discuss this later on. Don't worry too much about the occult right now. I'll show you what the occult is later on. But this is how the system works. All right, so there's certain questions about this. The first question is, okay, well, if this is true, why is this system separate from this system, right? Why not just say that the occult is the basis of everything, and then you have the elite, and then you have science, intelligence, crime, and then you have the empire, okay? And the reason why is this is really important for you guys to understand. This is the parasite, okay? This is the parasite. It doesn't actually create anything. All it does is suck up value, extract value, okay? And this is the host. So in fact, these are two separate systems, right? This is the host, and this is the parasite. Then your next question would be, okay, let's just assume this is true. what evidence is there that this actually works? Because there should be people that operate this system, right? Well, I will give you some names, okay? All right, so if it is true that this system is the way it is, there should be individuals in place that operate the system, right? Well, I'll give you some names. I'll give you two names. Jeffrey Epstein and Jared Kushner. Okay, and I'll explain who they are as we go along. And these families, how about the Rothschilds? Secret Society, Chabad Lubavitch. All right. And you're like, this is all conspiracy. This can't be true. Well, it's all true. And I will give you the evidence that this is all true later on. By the way, some of you will be like, they're all Jews, man. So why do they say the Jews rule the world? Well, because the evidence that we have implicates these people who are Jewish. But there are other people who are more powerful, who are able to maintain themselves in the shadows, okay? So it's not really fair to say that it's a Jewish conspiracy. Okay, I think this explanation, this system is much more complicated than just saying it's all Jews, all right? All right, so now what I want to discuss is the problems of this system, all right? And once you understand the problems of this system, then we can understand why this war in Iran is happening, where it's going, and what this means for the world, okay? So there's certain problems with this system I want you to notice. The first major problem is all this is based on empire, the perception of empire. And what this means is that everyone has to believe that the American empire is invincible. It cannot be defeated for the system to work, right? Once people start to believe that there are alternatives, that the empire is weak, then the system cannot work. And so therefore, the only solution to this problem is America has to go fight wars for no reason. You understand? It's like being the school bully, right? People pay you money because they think that you're a bully and you are not reasonable. And so to prove that, every now and then you have to go beat up another kid for no reason, okay? You're just smack the kid and everyone's afraid of you. That's America. And this helps us explain all these wars in the Middle East these past 20 years, right? Why did America invade Afghanistan?